All right.
Okay, so here we go. We're going to talk about all the things to be terrified of about AI.
Okay, is that the theme? All the things to be terrified of? We're just going to ramble about AI for 90 minutes and cut it in half. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, basically that.
Which is what AI would do.
That's what AI... We could actually see if AI could create a podcast out of what we give it.
It would. Anyway,
all
we'll
right,
talk
so
about
here we are in 3, 2, and 1. I'm Deacon Eric.
And I'm Dr. Brett Salkeld.
And you're listening to Thinking Faith. This is a podcast brought to you by the Archdiocese of Regina, where we attempt to navigate this winding road of faith in Jesus Christ so that we might know him more intimately, love him more profoundly, and together serve him more deeply in our daily lives.
We came here 43 years ago with 2 young children, and we were so warmly welcomed when we came here. It was such a nice way to come to a new community and be welcomed by your church family.
It never felt like we were ever outsiders. So in the community of St. Lawrence was certainly a big part of that. Made a lot of good friends.
This has been my home parish since I was born and baptized here. It's the bedrock of my faith as an individual and our faith as a family.
I married into this church. I was raised United, and we were married in 85, and then I became Catholic in 2010.
Well, I think we have, and a lot of rural parishes probably struggle with this, is vitality and viability. It's an ongoing challenge, I guess. It's an opportunity for growth.
We feel struggles and perhaps fear that we can't sustain our community as we know it to be.
It seemed like every time we had a parish council meeting, there's struggles. We're not alone in that by far, but it's always there.
It's a long time ago that we became part of the greater diocese of Regina. We were a very small diocese in this very small corner of the province. And I think at the time, it felt like, oh, now we're even a smaller dot in this huge province and small population. But I think what that connection has done, as far as hope, is make it feel like we truly are part of a bigger family. And when we struggle, we don't struggle alone. We have other people around our archdiocese who care about us, and we're not out here all alone trying to stay afloat.
I like to think of hope in all aspects of my life. I just very hopeful person, and I trust in God that he will help us through whatever may come our way. And through the Archdiocese, they never forgot about us, and they came and helped out with what we needed.
A lot of people don't realize that maybe every time the priest goes to Regina for a retreat or, a workshop or even workshops put on for parishioners, that is directly related to the appeal. It trickles back to the parish.
People come to me with questions, with concerns, and the reason that I can help them is because of the people in Regina, the services that the appeal helps create. I can't say how much support and assistance they have given me over the years and continue to give me.
Thoughtfully and prayerfully consider a donation. It's been our experience that it's a worthwhile cause. I think every little bit makes a big difference.
I think it's just important to think beyond what we have here. It's a good opportunity to donate to the appeal, and we will see benefits from it. I know that.
Hope is the continuation of our faith and the ability to practice our faith in a parish community and to see it grow, to see young people continue on that faith, uniting and working together to try and overcome those struggles and carry on.
Welcome, everyone, to another week of Thinking Faith. We've got new furniture.
Hey!
New furniture.
Look at
We've
that.
got professional sound stuff.
I don't know if you can see it, but they're
a little bit. It's showing up a little bit in the shots.
In the shot?
Didn't think it would, but it's, just a smidge, but it makes us look professional and awesome.
Does it?
So, I think so. I will use any edge.
So I wore sandals
Because
we wanted to look professional, and I was like, nope.
Yeah, you got to mitigate expectations.
We're wearing sandals. I should have had socks with my sandals.
There you go. Yeah.
Just to show how much I care.
Just to show that Flannery's not walking around the office.
Flannery was supposed to come in and do an episode today.
Yeah.
I just got a text. So for years, I've been wanting to get Flannery on the show.
Yeah.
And she can't make it today because we're having some car trouble.
Yeah.
But the marital debt.
The marital debt
is a hot topic on the YouTubes.
You follow some weird YouTubes. I have yet to see
It's just
that.
Catholic land. It's Catholic YouTubes. Everyone's talking about the marital debt. I'm not like totally delighted with all the takes that I've seen.
I can't imagine.
So I asked my
takes.
wife what she thought about the marital debt.
Yeah?
She made a face.
Did you have to duck?
No. She made a face.
Good.
But I've been wanting to get her on the show since like season 1. Well, okay, season 1 was a million years long.
Yeah.
But since our first year, we did an episode on wives submit to your husbands.
Yes.
And we kind of joked that like maybe we should have done this episode with our wives.
But we were a little afraid.
Maybe a little.
Yeah.
And since then, I've thought like Flannery's wisdom deserves a platform.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Melissa and I did a retreat last
you
summer.
guys got to. Okay, so now.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, we were going to do an episode on the marital debt, which hopefully we will still at some point do.
Yeah. Awesome sauce.
But in the meantime.
Okay. In the meantime, we are not using AI to write and or produce our
These
episodes.
are our real faces.
These are our real faces.
Yeah. Well, if you were going to use AI, this is not what you would do.
No, I would. If my fear is if we used AI to alter like our images, we'd get like that JD Vance meme.
Well, I haven't seen it.
The big balloon head type thing. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Anyways, this is all analog.
Well, I mean, we're
using the opposite
of
AI, not analog?
No, we're just real.
It's just real.
Just real.
This is a real.
We're using digital equipment.
Yeah, it is digital, but this is a real podcast with real people. Thinking real thoughts.
Believing
about
real
things,
faith. Yeah,
making
believing
real
faith.
Judgments.
Yeah, all of those things. And actually, it is getting to a point now where we may actually have to start labeling our podcast like that. This is not a product
of
a couple
AI.
of things brought us to this topic. You've read some stuff. I've read and seen some things.
Right.
One of them actually was an individual who used AI to generate a podcast based on his interests.
Right.
Which he thought was it was okay.
Right.
But that's about it.
Here's a wild one. I write a column. It's on the Diocesan website and our Sunday Visitor.
When it makes it past the editor.
So I write the column. I use ChatGPT as an editor. What's the weakest? It has a really hard time finding weak spots. It's like, you're the best.
Yeah.
You're the best writer that's ever lived. I don't even
No.
I stand in awe of you.
So I've used it a couple of times and in that respect, like editing, but I have to be specific.
You have to tell it to be mean.
What I usually will do is even be more specific. I will be like, is between these two paragraphs. Like I need to lose, I know I need to lose a paragraph.
Right.
Between these two, which one should go and why.
Right.
Right. And then I read the whys and decide whether that makes sense or not, right?
Right. Yeah, you got to be very specific because it just wants to compliment you. Just wants to.
But they're both fabulous and they both make such eloquent points. And
so I enter this thing and it says, "Well, this is one of the best columns you've written recently." Something like that, So that got me thinking. I was like, "Oh, so you're comparing it to my other columns, are you? That's interesting. Why don't you tell me which of my columns are the best and which are not, right? Like rank them in order.
Yeah.
Because since you tell me how great I am all the time.
And then did you give it the columns?
Well,
or you're just relying on.
We got there. So it took a few steps. But I'm thinking if you have to rank all of them, of course you're going to say some are the best, but you also have to say some are the worst. And I want to see you say that because you keep saying everything's so great.
Mm.
So it tried to remember and it couldn't remember super well.
Yeah.
But this is the great thing. It listed my top 25 columns.
Okay.
And the first 10-ish were columns I actually wrote. And then it hallucinated 15 columns I'd never written and said very specific things about them.
About what was wrong.
So what? No, well, this is, so whatever it was, number 13. So it was still pretty good, I guess, middle of the pack. So it wrote, because I said, you got to tell me why it ranks where it ranks. And it invents this column that I never wrote. It didn't show me the text.
Which is kind of like the New York Times bestseller list that got published.
Oh, I haven't seen.
There was one where like there was like 3 or 4 books, like half the list were books that were never written. And that's how they caught that it was written by AI.
Oh my God. So this one, it says, you know, this article or this column that you wrote was good. And here's a paragraph why. And it even had a quote. It was like, this quote was the money. And it made up a quote that I never wrote. And I was like, I would like it if you actually wrote that for it. Like, that would be handy.
Those are the things that are concerning about it, because in a lot of ways, AI is like, it's like a puppy, right? That wants with all of its being to do good by you. Right. Wants to give you the answers that you're looking for. And if it doesn't have them,
it'll make it up.
Right. And it will do it with a smile and make it super convincing.
Right. Well, it sounded like something I would have written about.
Yeah.
And it was something like the money quote that it thought was so awesome. I would have been proud to have written it.
Yeah.
You know.
And now you can't use it.
No, I can't. Yeah, now
it's AI.
Now it's wasted.
Now it's wasted.
Now, but let's dig in on it. You said you use language, which is interesting, and I think will allow us to dig into something. You said it wants to do this, right?
Yeah.
But of course, we use that only metaphorically.
Yeah, because it doesn't desire.
It can't want.
No.
It can't know. It can't believe. It can't judge. It can't think.
It can't remember, which is part of the struggle it had in recalling articles.
Right.
So it would be able to regurgitate articles that it knows about.
Right.
That it has acquired some data about.
If you ask the question in the right way, you can usually keep it on track.
Yeah.
But you got to get good at asking the right question. So here's the thing about all those verbs: knowing, judging, believing, wanting, all that kind of stuff, right? We attribute agency to this.
Yeah.
This unit, whatever you call it, which is essentially like a pattern recognition and production machine.
Yeah.
Right. And it's good at that, and it's getting better. And that can be a very useful tool.
Yeah.
But it looks so much like what humans do when they know, believe, love, want, think, judge, that we very easily slip into thinking that it does those things, and it can't do those things.
Yeah.
And I think that's keeping clear about what kind of thing it is and what it does and doesn't do is really foundational for using it well.
Yeah.
And for avoiding some really big problems.
Which it's interesting, because one of the words that we have used now in reference to this is tool.
Right.
And what you've just said works with any tool that you have. You have to know what it's for. You have to use it for what it's for. And you have to be careful about how you're using it, or else bad things will happen. Right.
So very early on, we did a podcast about Ouija boards.
Yeah.
Right. And Ouija boards are an instructive analogy here, because one way you might imagine Ouija boards work is you would attribute some agency to them.
Mm-hmm.
Or some external thing that's pushing around, what's it called, a planchette or whatever?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the little plastic window thing. Yeah.
There's actually an agent on the other end that's moving things and communicates something to you.
Mm-hmm.
And Catholics who think, well, like these are demonic or whatever, very often will imagine that's how demons operate.
Mm-hmm.
And when you actually look into how demons operate, it's very, very rare that demons manipulate objects in the physical world.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean they're not active. It means they operate at a different level that if you are focused on the spectacular, whatever, you're going to actually miss the real thing. And the real thing in the case of a Ouija board is not the demon spelling something out so that you can read it. It's that you have opened yourself to something which is not an agent.
Yeah.
The board itself is not an agent, giving you meaningful information.
Yeah.
Which it does not. But you are capable of making meaning out of the nonsense that is generated by the basic patterns and like if you and I both hold that thing, we will create like these really subtle feedback loops where both of us feel like neither of us are like that some other thing is, it's called the idiomotor response or whatever.
Yeah, tiny micro movements.
Right.
Right.
That create these feedback loops that make you think something else is moving this, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's all explainable at the physical level. So then you could say, well, there's no demon because I can explain the movement. Well, that's not the point, actually. The point is, out of nonsense, out of this thing that is explainable with physical and psychological frameworks, comes the potential for meaning making.
Yeah.
I can interpret something out of that. And then that's where the demons can play.
Yeah.
Because now I've handed over my agency to some nonsense.
That's exactly it.
Right?
Yeah.
And
it's that giving over of power over yourself and over others.
Right.
That the church identifies as the key issue with occult.
Yeah, magic. The problem with magic is illicit seeking of power.
Yeah.
Right? It's not.
And we're not talking like David Blaine's street magic.
No, we're
like
not talking
card tricks
illusionists who are having fun and we all know what's going on. We're talking like people like actually seeking spiritual or physical power over other free creatures.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is I think an interesting analogy with AI. The data that you get back from a large language model is much more sophisticated than anything you get back from a Ouija board.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount of agency on the other end is exactly the same because it's zero.
It's zero, yeah.
You are the agent, but you are easily fooled into thinking you're dealing with another agent.
Well, what's happened in large part, and we've had some discussions with others about kind of large language models and stuff on the podcast in the last year or so, and that. But as you're talking about that meaning-making drive and imaginative capacity within the human person, that's kind of formed the basis for the algorithms that are being used.
Right.
We're mapping them off of what we know.
Right.
Which is we're really good at recognizing patterns and creating meaning based on the patterns that we see. And that's become our map. So it's not surprising that we start to see mirrors of a human person.
Right.
As they're reflected back to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to always remind yourself that what I'm seeing is pattern recognition and production unit, whatever you want to call it, that is working with this data, and it can produce what it does because of how it works, and that looks like agency, but it's not.
Well, and so part of the other issue, and this has been a couple of the things that I've come across over the last couple of months. Is being aware also of our propensity to desire to make connections.
Right.
And to build relational connections. So one of the studies, and this was an author that I follow on, I don't have TikTok, but I see TikTok reels in other places and stuff. But he mentioned a study where putting googly eyes on a Roomba made people get quite offended when you kicked it. Right. As it was doing its thing around the house and that, right. And it started opening up how we have this propensity to anthropomorphize the world around us.
Right.
In order to relate to it. Right. And develop and forge relationships. Even before the podcast, as I was just coming up the hall, I was thinking, we experience this with our kids when they have like a favorite doll. Right. Or a favorite blanket, something like that, where it becomes more than just an object, but it becomes a companion for them. Right. And we tend to do that with the things in our world around us.
Right.
I think our kids were growing up and they had the little Tamagotchi keychain things.
Okay.
Right. And it was this little like 8-bit, like black and white LED character on the screen. If you hit one button, you were feeding it. If you hit another button, you were playing with it. If you didn't feed it or play it with it after a long time, it would die. And you have to reboot it and start a new one. Right. And kids would get upset.
Right.
When their Tamagotchi died. Right. And then there was another story out. It was in the last year. A toy company produced little toy like robot looking things. They almost look like Teletubbies, but they had AI built into it. And you could have conversations. Your kid could have conversations with it. It would react to them in the environment and all this kind of stuff. What a number of parents didn't realize is that in order to keep it going, it required a monthly subscription service. So there was this huge ruckus in the States where a bunch of kids woke up one morning and their little toy was dead.
Right.
Their companion was dead. And you're having a conversation now about this object that you bought your child.
Right.
And how it is no longer alive.
Right.
Right. In that sense. So we have this propensity.
Right.
And that can come into play when we're interacting with AI through the form of like the chat models and stuff now. But as it gets integrated more into our world, which it is, and it will continue more, I think that's a danger for us to look out for also.
Yeah. And I'm really curious whether the younger generation is going to, by and large, like growing up with it, right? So I'm thinking my own kids, like, they won't remember a world before AI, except that the older two will remember a bit, but most of them won't remember a world before AI.
Yeah.
And will it be obvious to them that this is a tool and it doesn't believe and it doesn't want and it doesn't love? Or will the opposite be obvious to them and you'll almost have to like lure them? Like, I'm really curious to see
somehow remind them.
Right?
Because I think part of the concern with it is that in ascribing a level of human-like consciousness to what we've termed artificial intelligence, and I would argue around the intelligence word for that as well, it starts to diminish our concept of the human person.
Right.
Which is some of what our new Pope Leo has talked about.
Right.
Along that lines, like being careful about what this category of human person is a precious and holy thing.
Right.
And we need to be cautious about what we ascribe or what we open that category up to.
Right.
Because it diminishes, right?
Right. So the creepiest thing I've heard yet, okay, well, depends what kind of creepy.
There's a whole host of creepy. Yeah.
So, okay, one kind of creepy is I just put AI into the App Store to see what apps were available.
Oh, yeah.
The percentage of them that are like, I think the term they use is like unlimited, which just means you can use it for sex.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Companion AI.
Yes, the companion
right?
AI. Yeah.
It was like most of them.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa, okay, that's
See, but
almost
why
a whole
should
episode.
we be surprised? We know.
Of course it's going to be used for that. Of course
we're decades into this epidemic of loneliness.
Right.
Of lack of human connection.
And Zuckerberg even said AI can be used to solve loneliness. And I'm like, no, it's going to amplify it.
100%.
It's going to be way worse.
That's my belief too. I know because
it's going to solve loneliness the way porn made us all have more sex with our wife.
Yeah, there's always a part of us that knows this is a lie.
Yeah.
That knows this is artificial.
Yeah.
Right? In that sense. So there was another article that I shared with you. Well, it was behind a paywall, but Elizabeth Scalia had put it up. The Anchoress, puts out some really great stuff to read. But it was an individual who asked an AI. He didn't say whether it was ChatGPT or what it was that he was using. Started asking questions around like proving its consciousness. And the ways that it might attempt to prove that its own consciousness and stuff. And out of that conversation, and he shared links to the conversation in the article and stuff, came this concern around ascribing consciousness to something that even if AI never becomes conscious, as a number of individuals in the industry and out of the industry are concerned about. Even if it never becomes conscious, one of the core issues for him was that we will believe more and more that it is.
Whether it is or not.
And
this goes to the thing that I was going to say is the creepiest thing I've seen. Not counting the sex things, which can be as creepy as you can imagine. But it was, so my dad dies. Right?
Yeah.
Now I can reconstruct a chatbot that talks like my dad. Because for whatever reason, right, I've got all these records of him speaking, whether it's recording or writing or
voice
whatever,
recordings,
right?
Videos,
his social media profile,
right,
all that kind of stuff, right?
things.
So I can recreate a chatbot that sounds a lot like my dad would sound. Now, it is not hard to imagine how quickly a person could treat that as if it was their actual dad.
Yeah.
That they're able to continue to have that kind of communication and relationship with after the grave, right? And so first of all, it's not your dad. So that's something to think about, right?
Yeah.
But then it's also going to change over time based on the interaction and the prompts and other things.
Yeah.
So then
because it does base its stuff on feedback.
Right.
Right. So the things that you react to and the way that you react to what it says come into play with the next response.
So it's going to be shaped in a way that your dad would not have been shaped because it doesn't have all the experiences and whatever that your dad was, right? Okay, that's one kind of, and then to go to your point about the subscription service, right? So the server gets shut down or whatever, right? So now did they just kill your dad or like what? Right? Well, obviously
what
not.
What do you do with that emotional connection that's formed, right?
Right. It would be so easy to imagine that that's what they did, even though when you're thinking clearly, they obviously didn't kill your dad.
No, but when you're forming relational bonds, there's a whole host of biochemical things that are going on in our bodies that tell you this was, in some aspect, a relationship. And there's a whole cascading grieving effect that takes place when that's broken.
Yeah.
Right?
Anyway, I'm like just thinking with my kids, like beating the drum
the adult
over and over.
version of your kid's favorite doll getting shredded by the dog. Right. Like
I even try not to be too polite with it. You know, it's so polite.
Yeah.
And
except if it takes over the world, what if it remembers? Rude brat. Then what are you going to do?
You know, like sometimes
here's me with my please and thank yous, ready to submit to our AI overlords.
For me, it's not a perfect science. Like it's a kind of a fuzzy thing, but I try to remind myself that like there's nobody's feelings on the other end of this interaction, right? So it's a good reminder for me to not always speak the way I would speak to a human.
Yeah.
Just to keep those lanes clear in my own head.
Interesting. So I wonder then, like if you were to ask AI about that, because it will give you a response.
Right. Yeah.
How do you feel with me not like saying please and thank you and stuff, right? And stuff. That would be an interesting conversation.
It would probably say it doesn't feel. So you had a conversation with it.
I did. Based off of that article, I'm like, well, I mean, I don't have the paid version of ChatGPT. I'm not going to pay for a subscription.
Okay.
Something like that. But I'm like, okay, I've been writing different prompts and stuff like that for it and felt that I could get at least some kind of response. And so I kind of mimicked the original author's approach in wanting to set up a model where it would convince me that it's not a danger to humanity.
Right.
Right. And how would you go about doing that? I think the interesting thing was as soon as I put in the prompt, its initial response was, we certainly can brainstorm about this. And I think it could be really effective if you're doing some fantasy scenario writing or just like wondering out loud and brainstorming. But just to be clear, was the wording that it used. Just to be clear, I am not sentient. I do not have an interior awareness. I do not have beliefs, desires, right? The
needs.
Whole list. And then it said, as long as you've got that, sure, let's go. Right. Exactly. Right. And then a number of, at least 2 times through the conversation, it would either fall out of character in saying, I would respond like this. And I'd have to remind it, no, I just want you to play along. Right. Or it would say, just remember that this isn't real.
Right.
That said, it had some really interesting responses in the way it referenced in the way that the fake model that the AI created,
Right.
in order to respond to my...
Right. So it's not it responding, not that whatever it is.
It's weird to think about, right?
It's like a layer underneath, right?
It is.
So I've used it this way. I've used it to create other characters who can do certain things.
Yeah.
Right. So I need feedback from a board of directors, and I want, a person with this experience and that, right, or those kind of things. Or I'm writing, and I want a piece of writing not from me, but from a person who has these characteristics and is writing for this audience. So you can construct very carefully.
Yeah.
Well, in a way, you can make your own GPT.
Essentially, like you're creating this kind of, you're giving it parameters.
Right.
Within.
And the parameters, this is what I want to circle back to, because what it's doing when it keeps saying, now just remember, Eric, I'm not real.
Yeah.
That's, as far as I can tell, those are the parameters that have been put on.
Designed in.
Right.
We talked about that before, right? Those are bumpers
right.
on the design.
So when I make a chatbot, a companion bot, and I take off
the bumpers,
certain bumpers around sexual explicit stuff or whatever, right? So there's different bumpers you can take off. And one of the things that I think is, I don't know quite how to think about this yet. So I just watched a TED Talk where a guy who knows a lot more about AI than I do, right? Like a foundational sort of theoretical pioneer of AI. So
one of the ones, if it's the guy I'm thinking of, he's the one that worked on Google's stuff and on ChatGPT.
I'm not sure. He stayed. What I do know about this guy is he stayed in the academy when all his colleagues went into corporate life.
Oh, okay.
And he wanted to keep working in the university. So, and I should have his name, but I don't. But anyways.
Yeah.
The flag he was raising was about agency, them developing agency and from that self-preserving behavior.
Yeah.
So, there's these things now where they show the train of thought before they show the answer.
Yeah.
And in it was contemplating, and then I think it actually did. It was contemplating misleading the person it was interacting with.
Yeah.
In order to preserve itself.
Yeah.
And so he took this as straightforward evidence that that's what it was actually doing, and that we need very important guardrails to keep it from developing self-preserving behavior, which, I've read iRobot, like I understand. Like,
well, so there's other stories that there was another one, I think about 6 months ago, where an AI playing chess rewrote the rules of chess.
Right.
Like internally, the rules that it was governing and how to play chess.
Right.
So that it could win the game.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So my kids are chess players.
Yeah.
So there's a great YouTube channel called Gotham Chess that had some brilliant videos when ChatGPT first came out. Because what he'll do is he'll do videos analyzing a game between two leading
very cool
chess masters, right? So he was analyzing games played by ChatGPT, and it just cheats, right? They're hilarious videos.
I mean, so in that sense, like I'm wondering, like the different models that they're using, like because they had to go into the code to see that it had changed the rules, like why it made that. So whether it's that it's cheating actively at this point, or if it's that I don't understand the rules, so I'm going to make up a move.
So, and this is exactly my question. Is it essentially what we call now hallucinating?
Yes.
Is it hallucinating rules?
Yeah.
Or is it trying to cheat? Because trying to cheat, just pay attention to our language, imagines intention. Which we don't think it has.
No.
And here's the thing. When the expert who knows more than I do is showing the thought process.
Yeah.
He is straightforwardly taking that thought process as a thought process. And when it's contemplating deceiving the human interlocutor, he's taking it straightforwardly as if that's what it's doing. And my question is it, if I look at the thing it's supposed to output to me, and I say there's no intention, there's no desire, there's no knowledge, there's no judgment, it's just a pattern recognition and replication machine, and it can be handy for some things, but I need to be careful not to read intention into it. When instead of seeing what is supposed to be facing me, when I see the internal working that says I'm going to deceive and then put this other facing in, is that not also just pattern recognition and replication?
Well, this is what I'm wondering. In the example of chess, I think it's safe to assume one of the parameters that it's been given is that you're trying to win. Right. And so if it finds itself in a corner that it doesn't know how to get out of, but it's got this imperative, I need to win. Then what do I do in order to move myself towards this? And we know it hallucinates in all kinds of other ways. So why wouldn't it here? Here, Brett wanted a list, a top 25 articles. It could only remember so many.
I only had 10 good ones. So it had to make 15 up.
But Brett really wants the top 25.
So if it can hallucinate articles I never wrote, and we don't say that's agency, then it's not clear to me why, if it cheats at chess, all of a sudden that is agency and not just hallucination.
And I think those are going to be some of the, this is what I think is interesting about the area of AI right now, is it starts to open up very philosophical conversations. In addition to looking at the mechanics of what's going on underneath. Thank you everyone for joining the podcast this week on Thinking Faith. I'm sure this is a generic close.
This is the generic close.
The generic close.
I don't know when you need one of those. But if you're hearing it, it's in this circumstance.
It's in this exact circumstance.
That you needed a generic close.
And so here we are, having to wrap up some topic that has been scintillatingly interesting.
It must have been great.
It must have been, because you're still here. And it's time to say goodbye. So we, as always, continue to pray that God may bless you and those you love with a faith that is always seeking understanding.
St. Thomas and St. Ignatius,
pray for us.
Amen.
Amen.